श्योर तो शुरू से शुरुआत करते हैं जैसा आपने कहा.
Good afternoon, people, and welcome to Thinkly community of higher education and careers, a place to know the exciting and ever-evolving world of higher education, where whether you are a student or with a dream of reaching for the stars on a professional or a professional ready to take the next step, this is where you get the food for thought. Within these walls, you will discover a lot of material and resources and guidance ready to empower you on every step of your path. Explore diverse career opportunities waiting to be unlocked in countless industries. Find your perfect academic fit by delivering into the world of majors and specialization that can set your soul on fire. Build a profile that shines as bright as your potential and unlock the doors to prestigious universities around the globe. Let me also introduce Thinkly as a great platform. Thinkly isn't just an ordinary platform. It is a portal to enrichment fueled by exceptional content and connection that matter. Imagine a vibrant hub where renowned business leaders, insightful journalists, and inspiring coaches gather to share their wisdom. That's the magic of Thinkly. And guess what? Today we also have one such luminary gracing our virtual space. So get ready to be empowered and inspired. My name is Vijay Sonawane. I host Thinkly's community for higher education and career. And I'm also a higher education consultant who assists students in seeking admission into the world's top 100 universities with scholarship. When it comes to communication, we came across a lot of fancy titles like marketer and PR and journalist and things like that, But the magic key is to unlock doors, that can promote academic success and yes, even helping you sail soil, as the saying goes. Because in Marathi, we often say that बोलणाऱ्याची माती विकल्या जाते न बोलणाऱ्याचं सोनं पण विकलं जात नाही. What it means is that if you talk, you can sell soil. If you can't, you can't sell a precious metal like gold. Throughout my journey, I have seen countless talented individuals stall because their ideas were trapped inside, unheard by colleagues and their bosses. The same happens with students who struggle in class participation, group projects, writing essays, and examinations like GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL, etc., which are required to enter best universities. No wonder the World Economic Forum hails communication as the ultimate 21st century skill. So listen up. We are about to unlock the communication secret that can propel you to the next level. Our guest today is a communication coach who empower her client to wield the power of words and become master of connection. She is a Delhi girl who holds a master degree in mass communication and journalism. She worked as a news anchor for more than 15 years with renowned channels like Aaj Tak and Jain TV. She is currently helping entrepreneurs, professionals, and students to articulate their thoughts in the most effective manner. Presenting you all a communication coach, Veena Soni. So Veena, welcome. And we are so happy to have you with us today and sincerely looking forward to, hear from you. So welcome, Veena. Right. So Veena, शुरू से शुरुआत करते हैं. So let me ask you, what is communication and why it is so critical in one's, not only in career, but even in their personal life?
Sure. तो शुरू से शुरुआत करते हैं जैसा आपने कहा. It's so fundamental to our existence. शुरू से शुरुआत करेंगे तो when a child is born, he starts communicating in his own manner by crying and showing off that when is he hungry, when is he uncomfortable, what are his requirements, when he needs to be played with, right? And as we grow, we are communicating continuously to tell about our needs and to understand people. And as we grow further, we leave the understanding part to tell you the truth. And we just understand that we have to keep talking, keep communicating, to exchange the information, to exchange the ideas, to exchange our thoughts and feelings. But we somehow miss a few points like listening, like there are non-verbal communication, like when we don't speak, that time also we are speaking. So scientifically speaking, communication is a process of exchanging ideas. It's a two-way process that I speak to you, you speak to me, and then I speak to you again after understanding what are you saying, and then you speak to me. So it keeps on going till the time whatever goal we are trying to achieve is being achieved. That's what communication is. And it includes
Correct.
verbal as well as non-verbal channels.
Yes. Very true. Very true. I mean, they say that you cannot not communicate. What it means is that you are always communicating, and as you rightly pointed out, but how you communicate really matters. And as I was saying, Vina, that I've often seen that people who cannot express cannot grow, right? Okay. And what we'll do is we'll first, kind of touch base the student space, and then maybe we'll come to professional space, and then, maybe in between we'll keep shuffling. Yeah, allow me to do that. So let me ask you that many students feel underprepared for communication challenges in their workplace. I mean, they are very fresh from the academia when they join corporate. Okay. So what advice would you give to the student, especially, and how can they work on their communication, right? How can they identify their communication style? What kind of resources would you recommend them, or what should be the process, long-term process, so that they become a better communicator?
Sure. So, as an expert communication coach, I understand that there are challenges that the students may face when they're transitioning from their colleges to their workplaces, especially regarding communication. So, first, start before you're ready. I always say this. Don't wait that, okay, I should know this much and then only I can start communicating. I should have a lot of knowledge, then only I'll start communicating. Start before you are ready, which means whatever you have, even if you think your English is not perfect, even if you think you don't have a lot of knowledge, even if you feel that I am not comfortable talking to people, even if you label yourself as an introvert, but if your goal is to transition from your college to your workplace, you need to start now wherever you are. The first thing to start with is practice active listening, which is one of the key of communication skills, because most of the times I've seen youngsters interrupting others a lot. That's how they grow up, because they're growing up with friends. Right now, they have no experience of a professional environment. How they interact with their friends is somebody saying something and the other person cutting it. Oh, no, this is not something that I feel. I saw this movie this way, or whatever their communication is. They are interrupting each other a lot. So when you are ready for your professional transition, I would say start listening actively. Start noticing yourself. How many times are you interrupting your friends? Because this is a habit that you have developed, and this habit will continue with you if you don't start becoming self-aware. That's the first step. The second would be very aware about your non-verbal communication. As you mentioned, that you cannot not communicate, which means even when I'm quiet and I've just entered a new workspace and I've just entered my office, my body is speaking a lot, whether you understand or no. I'm sure you meet people sometimes and you say, yaar, uski vibe samajh nahi aayi. Happens. I'm sure would
Yeah.
have happened with
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
is
Yes.
what it means, that you cannot not communicate, because at surface level, there is communication happening, which our eyes can see, which we can figure out. But at the subconscious level, there is much more happening. At the vibe level, there is much more happening, which are your non-verbal cues. Because if in your head, there is a communication going which says that, oh my God, how is my day going to be? Somehow that is going to reflect on your expression and in your body language. So the next step would be start becoming aware of your body language. How are you standing? How do you sit? How do you look at people? Do you nod when you are listening to people? Do you look at people when you are listening to them? How much eye contact are you making? These are small non-verbal communications that you need to learn if you really need to create an impact at your workplace. The third thing would be start focusing on your written communication. Because as you move to a professional environment, you will be asked to write a lot of emails. You don't need to write projects maybe in the beginning, but yes, basic email etiquettes you should start learning, that there is a title that is to be written. Then there is a tone that is to be maintained during the written communication as well. If you start putting in a little focus on how do you write small interactions through emails, is going to be a game changer for you. Another would be that start building your confidence. Because when you start talking to somebody who is new to you, you will notice that there is a kind of anxiety that comes in automatically. It's in everyone. So before joining this session, I know you very well. So for me, it was very comfortable. But let's say if I did not know you and it was completely a new platform for me, somebody whom I've never interacted with, even if I'm being into communication field for 20 years, I'm telling you there is a small hitch, I would say, which is always there, which is going to be there, which means it doesn't mean that you're scared. It means there is a slight excitement plus nervousness, I would say. That yes, if it's there, which means you are ready to take action. People start judging this as, oh my God, I'm very fearful of talking to people. So start being aware that when you're talking to new people, how do you feel inside, and start understanding about that feeling, start understanding about that trigger, what is going on inside when I'm interacting with new people, because this is going to happen when you enter your workspace from your college is your comfort zone. When you move out of your comfort zone, there will be certain level of which will always be there. So how do you deal with that little anxiety that will pop up when you move to a new space? And be open to learning. That would be my last advice, though there is a list, there is a longer list that we can discuss. But be open to learning, I would say, because the more you will start telling yourself that I am open to learning, you will start understanding about how people interact. Instead of just thinking, oh my God, he's my boss and he's going to talk to me like this only, like authoritative figure only, or I have to listen to my boss, or I am very new, I should not be speaking up, or am I even allowed to speak up? Instead of having these notions in your head when you are entering a workspace, be absolutely open. Be open that I will be absorbing things as they are instead of putting in any assumptions to it, and then go with it. If I have already identified these are my anxiety triggers or these are my feelings that are going to pop up and this is how I'm going to deal with it, and I'm pretty confident that I will be able to deal with it. And along with it, when you're open, you are just going to rock it at your workplace.
Yeah, good. So, I mean, Una, you talked a lot of interesting things, and you said that um, you when you're talking to someone who's not known to you, uh, look at your sort of emotional temperature, how you feel inside. It's a very cognitive activity, right? And which we are never uh, told to do that, or we are never taught, that this is how you develop sort of your self confidence, maybe, or understand what's happening inside you. So next time when you approach, maybe you know how it feels and stuff like that. But I'm saying, like, yeah, it is. But then how you do it? I mean, is there any sort of a structure to it? I mean, little technical, maybe, but I mean, how you help your kind of student, and do you have a sort of a case study? If you can just share with us, some case study with your student client, who had such kind of challenges, and you really help him to, come up with those.
Yes. So my courses generally work a lot on your self communication. As I'm also an NLP practitioner, I definitely believe a lot is going inside you. And when that is aligned, it becomes very easy to communicate externally. People generally start with external communication, that how do I feel confident outside? How do I make people believe that I am confident? I start from inside out, which means inside you start feeling confident first. Start working on your inside communication. So I generally work on self talk a lot. I work generally a lot on reframing your self talk, and then you communicate with others, which will be more impactful. You will know how to impact people, you will know how to influence people. You will know how to persuade them once you have persuaded yourself. So this is where the NLP part comes into picture, that you start believing in yourself so much that others start believing in you.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I will share a case study. So I remember working with a group of students, and when I joined them, I told them at the end of 5 days, so it was a 60-hour course. In 5 days, we were supposed to do 60 hours. And I told them that at the end of the course, we will be having a presentation. And how many of you would be comfortable giving a presentation? And there were hardly 3 people. So it was a group of 18 students. There were hardly 3 students who raised their hands that, yes, we will be comfortable giving a presentation. I was shocked that 15 of them out of 18, 15 of them did not raise their hand that we will be comfortable giving a presentation, which shows that, and this is not the first time, to tell you the truth, there is a study done by Harvard as well, which says that 75% of the people are scared of public speaking. It is a very, very common fear. It is just next to the fear of death. So you can understand that how people fear public speaking. And at the end of those 5 days, trust me, all of them, when I asked them before the presentation that how many of you are comfortable giving a presentation, and all 18 of them raised their hands that we are comfortable giving a presentation. Because we have worked so much during those 60 hours on their own self-communication that they knew how to open up and talk in front of the whole class. In fact, one of them just told me this thing that 5 days before I wasn't comfortable. I won't have been able to do this. And now I'm saying it in front of the camera also that it is possible. It is possible to be comfortable and to be confident giving presentations. So this is magic, I would say, that what NLP can do to your brain and to your communication.
Okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you because I'm also a part of Toastmasters community, and this is where we talk about public speaking, presentation, and stuff like that. And I know, I mean, seasoned professionals who have spent 15 years, 20 years, 30 years in the industry come there to work on their sort of communication skill, I would say. Yeah. So, I mean, and it's not only for student. I think this is a skill which is required and demanded by corporates, that and making presentation, addressing teams is, I would say, a very, very critical uh, job responsibility in one's life. Yeah, especially when you move to a managerial level. Yeah. So, couple of tips would you like to offer to our audience who would like to, who make public presentation or public speaking quite often?
To start with, the first thing is always know your audience. Because if I'm talking to a 5-year-old child, the way I present or the way I talk will be very different than if I'm talking to an audience which is 75 years old. Because I know that their language will be different, the way they understand things will be different. So as much as you can know about your audience is the best thing that you can do to make yourself confident. The second thing is know about your subject thoroughly. If you know about your subject, let's say if I have to speak for half an hour, I make sure that I know I have knowledge for at least 3 to 4 hours. Then only I'll be very comfortable speaking for half an hour. So this is how well I prepare for my subject, and this is how I tell everyone to prepare for their subject. That you should know about your subject so well that even if you have to speak about half an hour, you should know about it for 2 to 3 hours, that I can go on and speak for 2 to 3 hours. Next would be know about your message. What is that key message that you want people to take away from your presentation? Because you will be putting in a lot of pointers, and if it's overloaded with data, it's overloaded with a lot of things, the capacity here is very limited. And you are doing it for the people. You're not doing it that, yeah, I can speak well, man, I can present well. If the goal is that you want people to take action, that you need to understand that the capacity here is little. What is the key message? It can be 1 or 2 points. That's it. Max 3 is, researchers say it can be maximum 3 points that you can expect an audience to take away. Key points the audience can take away from your presentation. So make sure that what is that 1 or 2 or 3 key points that you want people to take away from your presentation. Fourth thing I would say is start working on your anxiety. Start labeling it that, yes, okay, this is how I feel when I am speaking in front of the people. Because once you start addressing to your anxiety rather than running away from it, it becomes very comfortable. कहते हैं ना, अगर आपको दुश्मन पता हो कौन है, you can still deal with it. Yes, so if you know that this is how my anxiety looks like, you can deal with it. You can talk to it. You can actually go inside yourself and say that, okay, this is how I feel when I present every time. And this is going to be great. You can start working on reframing your mindset, reframing your internal talk when you are presenting in front of the people.
So that's very, very critical, because unless and until we really label those emotions, those feelings, and understand why those feelings are there, the reason, you can actually reason out, why, because every emotion or a feeling has a message in it. So therefore, it is very important that we do that cognitive analysis as to how you feel, and so if you can really work around it, I think that can really help and lessen the anxiety for your further interaction with people. Yeah. Uh, so she also mentioned about active listening, which we are going to deep dive uh, and understand more. What do you mean by active listening? What are the most critical factors in listening, rather active listening? Uh, she also mentioned about uh, storytelling. I mean, when it comes to public speaking or making presentation, that key message is very important. So whenever we are making presentation, it's very critical that we understand what is that we would like to convey to our audience. So this is so critical, yeah. And therefore, nowadays storytelling is becoming little more, or rather becoming more important aspect, yeah. And a lot of organizations are spending lot of organizations are spending mm, good efforts on bringing people's storytelling skills to the next level, because this is how most critical factor. And I would like to take a question which is asked by our audience, and he's saying that one of his friend is trying to go to Ireland, and he's stuck in the loan process and doesn't have any collateral to show the bank, and is not very strong financially. What advice can you give him? Yeah, okay, sure. So we'll have to really look into this particular case by its merit, as to what type of university he's getting into, his overall academic expertise or academic, what do you say, strength. Uh, and then we can comment on it. But yes, of course, I mean, there are multiple institutes that can fund the candidate. So nationalized bank, then private banks, and you also have some certain international loan organizations which can also fund student, but that again depend on the university. I mean the student profile and the university he's getting into. Not to worry. Uh, well, I mean, your nationalized bank will be a little strict on the documentation and overall their underwriting parameters. Uh, Private bank can be a little more lenient. But again, as I said, this needs to be looked into. So maybe, Sylvan, you can ask your friend to call me, and I can help him as much as I can. Yeah. In case you people have any other question, please do put it in the chat.
If you know that how do you feel when you're talking to people, when you know that this is how my anxiety looks like, and also I will add a scientific point of view here as well, that science says that the chemicals that are produced in our body when we are anxious and the chemicals that are produced when we are excited are the same. Because how many times have you done any adventure sport and felt that those butterflies in your stomach? I'm sure you've tried bungee jumping or river rafting, and just before, or maybe the roller coaster ride, just before that, how do you feel? You feel as if there's something exciting going to happen. Okay, some kind of fear pops in, though we call it as excitement, though we name it as excitement. So you can actually deal with your public speaking anxiety also by naming it as excitement, because what is internally happening in your mind, in your body chemically, is exactly the same, and your body doesn't understand whether it's fear or it is excitement. And also science says that some level of anxiety is good for your body, because when you are anxious, there is a signal being sent to your brain which says that I am going to do something very important in my life. So you don't want to be exactly very calm all the times. If you're going to present, you really want to make it important in your life. And when your brain knows that it is important for me, that's how it's going to deal with the situation. So this is
Yeah.
how you deal with public speaking fear as well.
Right. Yes, yes. Very well explained, Veena. Veena, let me ask you that when you say that, it's very critical that, you need to convey the message, the key point, and therefore nowadays, a lot of organizations are spending efforts on storytelling. So can you just throw some light on the storytelling bit?
Sure, definitely. So science says that there is a saying. Before science, I will tell you one saying which says that facts sells, facts tell, and stories sell. So by facts, you can only tell that, okay, this is what we have done last year. But by a story, you can actually sell your idea. This is what is said. And as per science, also the chemicals that are produced in your mind when you're telling a story involves the whole brain. So there is one logical part and there is one creative part in our brain. When we tell a story, we are not just including the logical part, because when we are just telling the facts, only the logical part of the brain is being included. But when we are telling a story, we are including the mind, which is not just logical, but also creative. Which means if you want people to remember what you are saying, if you want people, so there is this message that we were talking about, that what do you want people to take away after listening to your presentation? If you tell this in a form of a story, it's a short way of making people remember. Look at any of the advertisements. They are not logical. They're always telling a story. Whether it's Swiggy, why should you order food from Swiggy? Is because Alia Bhatt says that when I come home, I am late and there is tinde ki sabzi and I don't want to eat tinde ki sabzi, and that's how I order from Swiggy. There is a story in it. What if she was just saying, no, I am ordering from Swiggy because it's logical. I don't want to cook at night. Doesn't make sense, right? Logic doesn't make sense. Though we say that, we are very logical people, but whenever you see an ad, just see that what are they trying to do? They are trying to create certain emotion in you by telling a story, that this is how you're going to feel when you buy the product or use my service. This is how important storytelling is. And also there is a study, scientific study done, which says that there are chances that 22% more percentage of people remembering what you have said if you include storytelling in your presentation, and not just tell them that these are the facts that I want to present. Just imagine somebody coming over and telling you the facts. Okay, 75% of increase in the bottom line and 20% attrition rate, and somebody coming and saying that people stayed with us because we were able to provide them value. You can see how different it is. How do you connect with people? So if you want to connect with people, then include storytelling in your presentations. Even when you are telling a small story, let's say today I was coming back from the market and I saw this person who was selling balloons. I take you exactly there where I was. And you start visualizing. And the minute you start visualizing, which means I'm putting your creative brain also at function. I'm making you use your creative brain, not just your logical brain. And then you start thinking, okay, how is she connecting this with the presentation? And then you say, okay, because I saw the balloons, I understood that this is how colorful our stuff is. And I just connected it with my staff, and then I started giving the presentation. So if you don't want to be boring, then include storytelling.
Good. So, Veena, let me ask you the subsequent question. Since, as you say, that storytelling is so critical in one's success, uh, how do I sort of like improve my storytelling ability?
That's a pretty good question, and that's what a lot of people want to know, that how do we improve our storytelling skills? The first thing I tell them is start observing things around you. Because to be a great storyteller, you need to be a great observer. You need to start understanding how people feel when they listen to something. So when I tell you that I was in the market yesterday and I found this man selling the balloons, I need to start observing how are you reacting to it? Or are you even reacting to it or no? And not just you, I have to start observing a lot of people around me. That if I give them some information, how are they going to react? Because the whole idea behind storytelling is to make you remember my message or make you take that action. Why are big brands telling stories? Because they want you to buy their product. Why are they telling you a story that if you start using my perfume, then girls are going to come after you? Because they want at the end of the day to that you should be buying my perfume, right?
Correct.
So you need to start observing how do people feel when they are told something. What are the emotions that are impacting them? How do they react when they become happy? How are they reacting when they become angry? How are they reacting when they are joyous or when they are irritated? And once you start observing, you know that what kind of emotion I want to produce in them with my storytelling or with my presentation. So first point is always start observing. Second thing is you need to live a life worth telling. And live a life worth telling doesn't mean that you need to be a celebrity for that. Even if you're going to a park, you can actually start seeing that what is it happening there. How can I describe this scenario? How can I describe to somebody that what was happening in the park? We think it's so mundane. Going to a park is so mundane, or maybe going to the market is so mundane. But what if you had to describe this to somebody, and you can actually find that if when you are able to describe this to somebody, you will be able to connect it with something that you want to say. You will be able to connect it with somebody who want to listen to this. So start creating stories from your daily lives, wherever you are going, wherever you are moving, whenever you're meeting a friend also. So last night I met a friend and we were discussing about the latest movie that's released. Isn't that a story in itself? Isn't it that she was trying to sell me the movie that she's watched and she wanted me to now watch that movie? That's also a way of telling a story to me that, this was the plot and this is how I felt and this is how I went. So first thing is we spoke about, yes, start observing. Second thing is start collecting stories from your daily routine. Instead of labeling everything as mundane, start seeing them as something happening in your life. Become collectors of stories, and it can be anything. So once you start writing them down, this would be the third part, that start writing down small instances from your life which you can start including in your presentations, or you can start including in your daily life conversations. So instead of just saying, if somebody asks you how was your day, instead of just saying that it was fine, you say, oh yes, it was great because yesterday I went to this place and I met this very interesting person, or I went to the to eat a burger and I could see that the burger they offered was something which I'd never tasted. So when you can start collecting these small instances from your to day living, you start becoming a great storyteller. So this is just the beginning point. Then of course there is body language, then the way of presentation, then building a character into storytelling, start connecting with your audience. There is a whole list, but you can start with these two: observation and become a story collector.
Absolutely. Very, you have put it in a very brilliant way. Because as you were saying, I could relate to the whole of stand-up comedians, I have come across. They are a great observer and they convert that observation into a great story. They create a fun out of it, humor out of it, and sometimes, yes, a message out of it. Yeah. Yes, very good. I mean, we need to start observing people. Yeah. Okay. Fine. That was very, very interesting. So let's come to, some discussion at the workplace. Okay. See, you see, like today our workplaces are very diverse. Yeah. And you have people coming from different culture, different kind of demographics. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you need to work around it. Uh, and therefore, it's very critical to deal with people from a diverse background. So, what strategies do you recommend for navigating in such a melting pot of diversity, and how one can build their communication?
That's a very great question again, Vijayji, because yes, everything has become very diverse. People coming not just from different cities to work at one place, but different countries. And especially with the online presence, even if they're not physically present, they're dealing with a lot of people who are working abroad. And of course, there is a cross culture communication that's working. Something that is right for me may not be right for you. Something which you feel should be done may not even exist in my dictionary or in my culture. So, few important points is the first thing, always remember to be respectful and don't go by any surprises. Oh my God, I never thought that, like that. Maybe hugging for you is absolutely normal and it may be a big no no for me. And if you say, oh, really, you take it as a big thing, somebody hugging you is a big thing. So, there and then you are just making me very, very conscious about interacting with you. I will start thinking that, oh my God, this guy is being very judgmental on the way I've been brought up. So, instead of, even if this has come as a surprise to you, it's always better that before you start interacting with somebody to know a bit about their background. Again, audience check is very important here. Respect is very important here. And even if you've done your audience check, even if you've learned something about their culture, you may not be completely aware about their culture and something comes as a surprise to you. Don't be very surprised about. So here, which means that you are open to seeing that yes, somebody has been brought up very differently, and for somebody it can be a shock or it can be different than how I have been brought up or the way I've been communicating. If you start showing respect, okay, this is how you work. They would say, okay, at least they understand me a bit. So these are few points. Respect is very important. Then, yes, one more point I would add here is keeping it very concise. When you don't know that how people will take your conversation, it's better to stick to the very basic minimal communication. Keep it very, very crisp and very, very concise so that there is less chance of you being misunderstood.
Correct.
Even when
This
you
this
have
can
learned something about their
yeah,
culture, if you keep it just to the point, you're not leaving anything anything to misunderstandings.
very interesting and very practical. But at the end of the day, again, Vina, I mean, we are human beings, and there is a great possibility that there can be some communication breakdown happening. Yeah. So, I mean, how can you kind of foster open and a kind of a productive communication within the teams or within the people, in such circumstances that yes, there is a breakdown. Then, but how do you kind of break that ice?
Yes, absolutely. So this is very, very common at workplaces, to tell you the truth, that one department not talking to the other department, on one person not talking to the other person in the office, and it definitely impacts the overall productivity of any workplace. So how do you deal with it? First of all, what is your goal? You need to identify that. Is it really affecting your productivity? The first thing should always be that. Let's say there will be two levels always. One is at your level. If you are an employee and you are not talking to somebody, are you thinking from this perspective that this is impacting me at all, or this is impacting my productivity, or is it impacting my day to day working? Yes, not all conflicts. So this is something very, very controversial I'm going to say here is, not all conflicts are worth resolving, and this is the reality, because you cannot make everyone convinced that this is my point of view and this is your point of view. Sometimes you just have to be let the conflicts be. But If they are impacting your work at any level, if they're impacting your work, then you need to identify what is your goal. Do you want to be more productive? Because your productivity will matter a lot when the appraisals come. Yes. So if it is impacting your productivity, then set a goal that what kind of communication should I be setting with this person or with this department if I am into conflict? You have to start self reflection process. That's the first thing. You need to start a self reflection process, that how do I deal with the communication barriers that are coming in. So there was one communication barrier that we overcome, which was technical, but then there will be language barriers, then there will be cultural barriers, then there will be some kind of barriers that are working. So as long as you see it as a barrier, you can remove it from the conversation, from the whole scenario, from the whole situation. So you need to work from a very open mind that, okay, this is just work. I don't have to take things personally. A lot of time people start taking things personally, and that's where conflicts come, and that's where emotions are very high, wherein even if the stakes are not very high, you start feeling that the stakes are very high just because your emotions are very high. So emotional regulation is another thing that will help you a lot at your workplace. Just understanding that emotions are just a chemical reaction happening in my body, and they are not something that I always have to take an action on. Sometimes, yes, you feel angry. If you just think about it, and this is a scientific research which says that every emotion in your body pass through you if you let it pass in 60 to 90 seconds. Which means if I am angry and if I just pause for 60 to 90 seconds, I can let that emotion of anger pass through me and then respond instead of reacting. But at current scenarios, we have become so much into autopilot mode of reacting to things. Yes, so that's why we don't feel that, oh my God, this guy has said this to me, let me just answer back quickly to him. Otherwise, what will they think? That either I don't know, or I don't have self respect, or I am just trying to delay things. And this is what's going to make matters worse. So if you start with a self-reflection process, so set your goal. What is my goal? Do I want to increase my productivity? Is it hampering my productivity in any cases? Then a process of self-reflection, then some emotional regulation, and then start collaborating. You can identify the way you communicate with people. It can either be that you are a dominant person, or you are a person who avoids, or you are somebody who accepts everything. Yeah. Or maybe you're just always thinking that I'm so kind that I cannot speak up. I cannot be honest that somebody is not performing. And that's where the collaborative communication comes in. If you're clear about your goals, if you're clear that, yes, I want to increase my productivity, if you're clear that, not speaking to somebody is hampering my project deadlines. So you need to understand all these things and understand that how can I work in a collaborative environment? How can I create a collaboration and be a collaborative person and a team player?
Great. I mean, as I was again listening to you, I mean, and you have uh, mentioned about feelings and emotions. I think this is one space. If you really want to improve your communication, you also need to improve your emotional intelligence. This is what I feel. Yeah, because it plays so much in your behavior, in your words, and the way you respond. And therefore, because research also suggests that our non-verbal communication can be as high as 93% in the overall communication. Yeah. So yeah, great. Okay. So let me ask you one very, very contemporary sort of a question, because we have the era of social media, right? Every person is on either on a Instagram or on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on a Twitter, or now it is called as X. Yeah. So, I mean, though it's a very powerful tool, okay, and it can be a minefield. You can, if you use it really well, it can really help you to become a good professional. So how can people leverage social media for their career growth, you know while maintaining professionalism and using the right set of communication?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love social media, to tell you the truth, and I'm very pro social media. And of course, if you don't use it wisely, it can be toxic place as well. If you don't know how to regulate your emotions, it can actually be a very toxic place as well. But then everything has its pros and cons, isn't it? In fact, life exists in duality. everything in life, there are pros and cons, and you need to decide that whether you want to use it for your favor or you just want to let it go. Or if there are some negativity into it, you just want to go towards the negative side, right? I feel that to create your personal brand is equally important, even if you are an employee, even if you are a student. Because right now, even when you are going for an interview, yes, you will be looking up for the company, that what is the company talking about? What are the people who are working there? Who are the people who are working there? You generally Google about them. And similarly, nowadays, even companies have started doing it for people who are coming for interviews. Not before the interviews, but to tell you the truth, after the interviews, if they think that, yes, this is going to be a perspective or it's a genuine person whom we are going to hire, they start looking up for them as well on social media. And if you are not present at all, or if you're present and you're very casual about it, you're just posting some personal pictures about it, okay, you can have a personal uh, account as well. I am not against that. But when you think that you are, when, just imagine that you're being given a platform where you can actually be present as somebody who is a thought leader. Social media, don't you think, has given an equal opportunity to everyone, whosoever wants to give their thoughts, whosoever wants to create an identity for themselves? You can do that on social media. Otherwise, when media was very restricted, I remember, because I'm a media professional, right? And I am coming from an age where there was no social media. We all, in fact, I'm sure we have seen that phase where the authority was only with the people who are actually in media. So I would say I was fortunate enough to be on the camera and speaking to people in front of the camera. But when I left media, I did not feel that I've lost my power, because social media had become so powerful when I left media. So today, if you really, really want to create a personal brand and show people that I have opinions about things, you can be a thought leader, you can be a sought out person to whom people come when they want to understand something about the subject. So you have an open opportunity. Why not to use it? Why not to use it? And why to just think that, okay, I will use it just for posting my personal pictures? You can have your personal flavor in between, which is absolutely okay, because you are a human being, right? You have different facets to your life. So you would want to show that as well. But why not to use it for something which can really help you in your career and your profession?
Correct, correct. Good, good, good. So, okay, so Veena, let me ask you a couple of more questions before we kind of conclude. Uh, so you've been a master's in mass communication as well as in journalism. You spent close to 15 years in the media industry. So, how was your take on media industry or in the space of journalism? What kind of an advice would you like to give to our students who are currently in the process of graduating, or would they wish to join this very happening kind of a media industry? What kind of an advice would you give them? What kind of things they must do so that they become a better media people or media persons? Yeah.
So first thing is, of course, start working on your communication. If you want to be somebody who wants to join media or who wants to be a journalist, start working on your communication skills. And it just doesn't mean that how do you talk. It means how do you listen? How do you present data? How do you listen to people? Are you judgmental about things? Because being in media means presenting something absolutely in a non-judgmental way, which means you're just producing facts and figures. You're not, maybe you can add up a storytelling way of putting the facts and figures, but you're not putting in any opinions to it. That's what media is all about. If you want to join a media company or if you want to be a journalist, yes, and now you have the opportunity of becoming a journalist even if you're not joining any media company. Because as we were talking about social media, as we were talking about YouTubes, you would see so many independent journalists working on YouTube. uh, if you have seen a lot many people who are not associated with any of the companies but still presenting facts and figures, still presenting what the politicians are doing, still presenting how it can impact, how the policies of the government are impacting the citizens of the nation. It's just about, do you have that I would say, that you want to service the people of your country. So be a journalist or be a media person if you have that thing in your mind that I want to serve my nation, I want to serve my country. Then be a media person. Then be a journalist. Whether you're working with a media company or no, you can still be a journalist today. Today, everyone has this access to a camera in your phone, right? You don't even need to have a very expensive camera or a very expensive phone. You can be a journalist or a media person just by using your own phone and start posting on any of the social media platforms. The only thing is just be non-judgmental about things. Just break down the data. Sometimes the facts are so complicated that you will not be able to express what do you want to say. So if you know how to break it down so that a 5-year-old can also understand what you're trying to say, then I think you can be a journalist or you can be a media person.
Yeah.
You can join some company or not join some company. It's absolutely up to you.
Correct. I mean, I agree with your observation that, that it has created an equal opportunity. Yeah. And I'm really happy to, tell you that Thinkly is such platform which also gives a rather open its door for a lot of such people, who'd like to express and, curate good content, which can impact people. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So so before we end, let me ask you because we discuss a lot on the communication, but I still feel that, we must talk about some resources, which can help students or as well as professionals, to improve their communication, improve their language skills, okay, their storytelling ability, right? So according to you, I mean, what kind of books, what kind of other platforms? I mean, I know about Toastmasters. Okay. So apart from that, what is that people need to do very so that organically they develop their skill sets?
Absolutely. So yes, Toastmasters is one of the great platforms. You can be part of one of the Toastmasters group wherein you can start practicing, because whichever skill it is, whether you learn cycling, you learn swimming, or you learn driving, you started by practicing. Yes, on day one, you don't become a master. On day one, you're just a learner, and more you practice, more you are perfecting the way you speak. So it's better to be part of any of the groups wherein you can start practicing your communication. As far as resources goes, I will recommend some of the books that you can go through. Go for some of the TED Talks also. There are a lot of TED Talks that you can find on Google about communication. But some of the books I'm going to recommend, which I keep going through again and again and again. Even if I've read them, I keep reading them again and again. And they are very good resource. So one is, of course, Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
It's an all-time classic, I would say, that offers practical advices on interpersonal communication, building relationships, influencing others, because that's what you're going to do when you get into your office workplace. One is Crucial Conversations. It is written by a couple of authors together. It's by 4 authors. One of them is Patterson, one is Macmillan, and 2 more authors are there. It's Crucial Conversations, tools for talking when stakes are high. So if you want to understand anything about how do you deal with conflicts, this is one of the books to go through. Handling very, very difficult conversations with clarity, confidence, and empathy. So this is one book which I keep going through again and again and again. And as I keep talking about body language a lot, so there is a survey which says that your non-verbals are almost 90%, more than 90% than your verbal communication. So you understand the importance of body language. So there is one book, The Power of Body Language, by Tonya Raymond. This is one book which explores the impact of non-verbal communication and body language on interpersonal interactions and professional success. So these 3 books, I think if you are starting your journey, would be great. In fact, not just starting, I am still using them. And there are other books as well, which we can chat.
Correct. Very, very true. So I would request Veena, though you have mentioned it here, if you can give me text me the name of these books and their author. Maybe I would like to put it the same thing on our Thinkly chat so that maximum people can order and maybe start reading about. Okay, so good, Vina. It's been almost like more than 6 minutes that we are talking, and we are just trying to crack a communication code. Yeah, but let me tell you that. The way you have looked at each of the question, you have done a very clinical analysis of it and gave us a very clear path as to how we can improve our communication. And I'm sure this is going to be a big takeaway for all our audience, including students, professionals, as well as the people who are in the organizations. Okay, so I cannot thank you more. Okay, so thank you for your time, and it's been a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vijayji, for inviting. It is my pleasure. Always sharing whatever I've learned, because I always say that once a learner, always a learner.
Always a
I
learner.
always say that I am researching on communication, and when you're researching, it gives you so much pleasure to share your whatever you have researched over the years. So thank you for this
Correct.
platform.
Yeah, thank you, Bina. And yes, audience. So that's all from our side. As we started saying that you cannot not communicate. You are communicating, and it is important that you pay much and more attention in improving your communication, your storytelling ability, so that you can create a good denominator for your career success, because it is very important. Okay, so we'll meet next Saturday around 12:30 with one more topic, one more new guest, and lots of wisdom and thought process. Thank you very much. See you next Saturday. Bye bye.